Let's get the latest now on how schools are adapting to new measures today. Jaideep Barot is headmaster of the Bristol Grammar School, joins me via webcam. I think you're actually self-isolating at the moment, aren't you?
I am actually. I'm on the last day of my self-isolation, so I'm at home, as you can see, yes.
But as far as the school is concerned, this is effectively day two, because I think you closed on Thursday. So I'm just wondering what's happened in the last 48 hours.
That's right. We closed a day earlier than most schools because we were finding that we didn't have enough staff coming in to educate and care effectively for the children. So today is day two. We've got about 30 children in, predominantly children in the junior school. We're holding our key worker club for anyone up to the age of year 8, because we think year 9 and above can probably look after themselves safely at home. We've had about 30 children in on both days so far. And so far, so good. We have a good number of staff. Over half of our staff have volunteered to help with this, which we're really pleased with. And they're doing a mixture of the same sort of remote learning that all our other children are doing, plus trying to do lots of activities outdoors and trying to keep a safe distance from each other as far as is possible. I'll
come on to the education side of this in a moment, but are there any people who are turning up at the school who say they're key workers when they're not?
We're fortunate not to have had that. I do understand it's happening in certain other areas. We actually got slightly ahead of the game last Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember, and said we were going to hold this key worker club for those children who are eligible, and we asked parents to get in touch with us and let us know in advance. So luckily we had that little bit of advance warning. Around 60 children's parents said they'd be using the facility. So far, only about 30 have taken part. I think that message that you should only be sending your children to school if it's completely unavoidable not to do so seems to have been getting through with our parent body. And so far, we've not had any difficulties along those lines.
Did you get a sense that the government was a bit confused in that message early on, and that is now being clarified?
Yeah, I think we're all surprised by the length of the list. That's not to say that anyone's on it who shouldn't be by any stretch of the imagination. Certainly when we started talking about it, we were talking about NHS workers, we were talking about emergency services, maybe supply chain, logistics people and so on. But that list was longer than we thought. That said, the numbers that we have so far are manageable.
Now, obviously, at the back of everybody's mind in a certain year is exams. I'm just wondering, how are you able to get ready for something when you don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's a very difficult one. It's the biggest anxiety for our year 11 and year 13 pupils. You know, this is the culmination of what they've been working towards for a large number of years. And, you know, for some of them, they have university places hanging over them, sort of hanging on the results of their exams. So we were a bit surprised with the announcement when it first came out on Wednesday that exams wouldn't be happening. But we're waiting to get a bit more information, which came out on Friday. But as you know, there's still an awful lot of questions. This idea that children will get grades, those grades will be partially dependent on work they've already done, partially dependent on teacher judgment, dependent on prior attainment, all those sorts of things. You know, it's a very, very difficult task to do this and to do it fairly across the huge range of children in the entire country. And so there still needs to be more meat given to those bones, and we're waiting on tenterhooks to hear what that is. The fact is, there may still be exams too. I know that the summer exam series has been, they have been cancelled, but at the same time, the message is out there that if you're not happy with the grade that comes through whatever system is devised, that there'll be a chance to do exams in September or early in the new academic year. So basically, we're trying to keep our children prepared for anything that might come. And our advice very much so far has been it's business as usual as far as learning is concerned. Do carry on learning. We're doing all this remote learning. Teachers are setting work, marking work, feeding back. Don't take your foot off the gas. Let's be ready for whatever comes.
That said, Jaideep, on a personal note, you say you're coming out of self-isolation. Did you have the virus?
I don't know. We haven't been tested. Nobody's being tested, are they? But I just followed the governmental advice. I developed very mild symptoms last Monday and chose to self-isolate straight away for the good of the community, also to set a good example to other staff and pupils, obviously.
Would have been nice, though, to know, wouldn't it?
Of course, it would have been nice to know. I understand there must be pressures on trying to get people tested, which is why it's not happening. As I approach the end of my self-isolation, I'd love to know if I had it, so I know that when I do go out, have I already had the virus, or am I still susceptible to it, and so on. But we presume that the government is doing all that it can to do what it can in terms of this testing.
And on a wider level, the youngsters that you're dealing with, I mean, obviously, this is a worrying time, and that's an understatement for everybody. I just wonder what you do for the wider welfare of youngsters who must have concerns. We're all in times we've never known.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very difficult because obviously one of the biggest jobs that we have as a school is looking after the welfare and the well-being of our children, and that doesn't stop just because we switched to remote learning. So our tutors are in touch with each of the children on at least a twice-weekly basis, just to check in how things are going in terms of academic work, obviously, but more widely in terms of how they're feeling, in terms of their anxieties, in terms of spending a lot more time at home, often cooped up and away from friends and so on. So we're working very hard. The pastoral staff at the school are working with the tutors to ensure that that contact is maintained, to ensure that the well-being of the pupils is cared for, and we give them some suggestions for what they might do to try and ensure their physical and mental well-being while they're away.
Well, Jaideep Barot, I wish you well with those lessons online or otherwise, and welcome back from self-isolation. Good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you.